one of the hardest things I thought at the time when I was a child to do was to give from the heart and expect nothing in return. And I remember when my mother told me that. We lived across the street from my grandmother. Um, and she had borrowed some yard equipment. And I just didn't think it was fair because we needed the equipment, we needed to use it. And it was as if my grandmother, it was hers now. So my mother would say, I need to use my rake, for instance. And my grandmother would respond, and that's basically my rake. And my mother would try to tell her, I loaned that to you. But yet still my grandmother had stood firm on that it was hers. And so I don't know if there were some, memory issues or anything going on, but I remember how I felt and I didn't think it was fair. My mother, a single parent, the daughter of a mechanic. He was an entrepreneur. He had his own mechanic shop in Mississippi, who developed prostate cancer and died in his 50s. My mother in her 20s. And my mother's also the granddaughter of a pastor of a church that was in Mississippi, and she would walk the dirt roads, to Mississippi. She had dreams to become a nurse, and she ended up meeting my father in Memphis, Tennessee, who basically gave this nice persona, but then she found out that 3 days of the week he was nice, and 4 days of the week he was somebody else. Would basically venomous wordings out to her. And my mother didn't have much. We moved from Memphis, Tennessee. We rode the Greyhound. I remember being on that bus, and she and just being excited about traveling. She had 2 suitcases and $4,000 that she had gotten from an insurance claim, and she didn't have much. But just going through that, I could see the pain on my mother's face, and that was a major part of me not trying to add to that. What I was going through, I was not trying to add to her pain. And she didn't have much, but what she did share with us was her life lessons in a way that it didn't beat up the other person. It was facts that she would share with us about things that had happened. And even then, I would get angry sometime when I would hear about how my father treated her, how his family treated her. But it was the message that she was giving us, that she was trying to help us to have a better life than she did. And she felt that if you could hear my story and you could learn from me, that your life would be better. You would make different choices. And so I would use, because my ground was so fertile, being the oldest of three and seeing my father evidently abusing my mother, because I told a family member at a very young age. I was maybe 3 or 4, because we left Memphis when I was about 4, going on 5. And it's just that everything I had gone through, even the misuse of my body, my soil was fertile. And my mother's shared lessons, I used those as the building blocks of my moral character, and didn't realize, but now I thought about it today before I got on, that her life lessons became the seeds that I had sown in my fertile soil. Because when you're in pain or experiencing something that is problematic or troublesome, your soul is fertile, right? It's fertile for love seeds, and it's fertile for more pain seeds, hate seeds. It's fertile. So whatever drops in it, whatever we accept, ultimately, whatever we accept, we continue to grow within us. And for my mother, to be there, and there is some belief that, we pick the parents that we have, we pick the people in our lives, before we come to earth. And I remember feeling an electrical energy when I was around 14 years old. We were living in our second home and really wondering what this energy was as I stood up and realized it was joy within me because I was so thankful that I had a mother that shared principles, life lessons, virtues that I use to help build my moral foundation. Now, did I still have issues? Did I still befriend people that I shouldn't have probably befriended? Did I still date guys that I probably look back and like, but every experience is to enlighten us, to help us see the divine presence that is in us, to feel, to align with that divine presence. And I consider Fridays as a day to really assess. I mean, every day should be an assessment day, not